So,
Before the coffee gets cold.
yes.
My first thought, excellent pick. Super cool. I was like, the most impressed that I was how it was like, it was very vibe forward, and it was such like subdued fantasy. I know that's like it's like magical realism kind of more than sci-fi or fantasy, but there's like, oh, there's a ghost that sits in the corner of the cafe all the time, and it's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
And like people are like, "Oh, that's a ghost," and they're like, "Yeah, I don't believe that. No, it totally is." Okay, she can curse you. It's fine. Just
Yeah. No, yeah, I love how like naturally all of that just gets woven into the world, and it's all so matter of fact, and it's so like even the ghost curses you, and then the way that they lift the curse is by giving the ghost another cup of coffee, just like the most mundane natural thing in a cafe. It's not like some arcane counter curse thing that they have to do. It's just like so natural.
I also loved when they talk about that cafe being in the newspaper,
Mm.
and they say that, oh, there's this big newspaper came out with this cafe can take you into the past. And then people kind of forgot about it because the rules really complicated, and turns out it doesn't actually matter that much. Because I've always had the thought, or at least I used to have the thought that, like, let's say you discovered a dragon in, I don't know, somewhere in the Banff National Park, then my first thought was like, this would change the world. Like everyone would be losing their crap. And now I think it wouldn't. It would be on the front page of the news for a while, and then people would go, anyways, I still have to cook dinner, and and it would just quickly just float away. Same with like if we discover aliens, it's gonna be crazy that they're aliens, and then away it goes. Is my how I think these things actually turn out.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that is kind of that has been the case with some of the like, obviously not to that scale, but the headlines of like, oh, we think there's evidence of water on Mars, and we think that there's maybe evidence of bacteria and stuff on Mars. And it's like, oh my God, does that mean they're aliens? Well, anyway, let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I'm um I'm glad that you liked it. I was very curious whether you were going to like it or not. And one of the things that on a reread, I was wondering if you were going to get hung up on is the like mechanical simplicity of the time travel. It's like very not. It feels like on the complete other end of the spectrum from things like you know, Primer, the movie Primer comes to mind, where it's like the whole point is it's leaning super hard into like the specific mechanics of exactly how this mechanism of time travel works. And this is like, there are all these rules, but we're not really going to explain like why they are what they are or how they how they govern this experience. It's just this kind of like beautiful rendering of humanity.
Yeah, I definitely thought about that a little bit. Not so much how the rules get explained, because I actually kind of like it when people don't explain rules, as long as it's consistent. There were a couple things that I with that I thought was a little silly, like how they said that you can never change the future or change the present by going to the past.
Hmm.
And they were talking at one point. They say that like, oh, if you were to like, you would shoot somebody or whatever, they would survive. Even you couldn't kill them because you can't change the future. And I was thinking like, I don't know, if I got shot 3 years ago, that would change even if I survived, like that would be a huge deal and change me a lot.
Yeah.
Like woman in cafe shoots me, and then
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a pretty notable life experience that would play a pretty big role in defining the rest of your life, I think. Along those same lines, like I found myself wondering, like how the people who work in the cafe don't seem to remember people having gone back in the past, like when uh, uh, the sister who owns the other bar goes back in time and tells the woman who runs the cafe that her sister died, but then the woman has no recollection of that going forward, you know? It's like how does that work exactly?
And it is one of those, like, I think because the book is so people dealing with their trauma, it's really easy to forgive that and just kind of go, don't think about that. It's like you're getting hung up on the wrong thing here,
Totally, yeah.
which works well. Which I think, and I'm not saying that like that's how we should view everything, because I do think some stories, it's important, like it's about the magic. This is not about the magic. This is about
Yeah.
people coming to terms with their past.
Totally, yeah. It feels very intentionally like a metaphor for giving these people the opportunity to, kind of magically gain a little bit of a new perspective on a particular relationship rather than like specifically traveling through time and doing something that affects like the time space continuum.
Yes. Which I appreciated.
Yeah, which is one of the things, yeah, that's just so beautiful about the book. And I love the like imagery of the cup of coffee specifically. I was actually thinking about this morning as I was drinking a cup of coffee, that it's like this perfect kind of um like very experiential thing. It's very like sensory having a cup of coffee. It's just the right amount of time to have like a brief conversation, right? In the time that it takes a cup of coffee to get cold. And it's like beautifully understandable how long that takes, but not really specific. It's kind of like you have a moment in the past, right? Not like uh there's literally like an hourglass ticking down or something like that.
Yeah, and it was strange because a couple of times they'd be like, I'm gonna go back to this time to do this specific thing, and then they sit there doing nothing for a while, waiting for someone to come in, and I was like, you don't have much time. It's ticking.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is like, yeah, the having them, continually kind of like feel the cup and realize like, oh, yikes, this is already pretty cool. I don't have much time left. It's I really like the imagery and kind of the metaphor of that.
Yeah. One thing that I both really appreciated from a writer's perspective, like a story structure perspective, and really disliked, like probably my biggest complaint with the story, spoilers for if anyone ends up watching this, is I really enjoyed how the severity of the going backs escalated with time. So like the very first one was just about a relationship, and then it was about the Alzheimer's, and then it was about the sister dying, and then it was about the baby. And I think that escalating nature of it and letting like it lets, like the first one almost didn't matter because it kind of just gets you into the world and lets you accept the thing and makes the silliness of the cup of coffee become old by the end so that it no longer seems silly. Because like I was really struck by when the first time they did the whole coffee thing, I was like, this seems kind of dumb. Like it's a little stupid. And how they kept saying like all the rules, and they would go through the rules over and over and over and over again. And they kept saying, drink the coffee before it gets cold. Drink the coffee before it gets cold. And I was like, okay, I get it. But by the end, it felt like an incantation almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that only happens because of the escalating tensions of the story. So that I loved. What I didn't like is that the third story was the most impactful for me, not the baby story. Now, part of that is because my wife almost died recently, and so even though that was a car accident, that made me feel a lot of things to just think about. You know, I've had the situation where say something last time I talked to you, and then something bad happens, and I think that can't have been the last thing I said to you. So maybe that's personal, but also like this is just me. Don't have the baby. That's insane. That is, it's not noble. It is not like, oh, you're such a noble person because you decided to kill yourself to have a child. There are plenty of children in the world. Adopt a child. Don't leave this child without a mother. What's wrong with you? That's insane. What about the husband? You're just gonna leave him? Oh my! I was like, I 100% disagree with this woman's decisions, and that made me not care as much about her whole thing because if you come from a tradition where you're like the most important thing for a woman to be is a mother, I think that would be super impactful because you're like she is doing the thing that she has to do even though it's going to kill her. But like you don't have to do that. So that bothered me a lot, and I think that left me with a little bit of a sour taste at the end because that's how it ended. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if this had ended with the other one, I would have been like a little more blown away, but still good. But what do you think about those things?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about, I hadn't thought explicitly about them escalating in, or like ramping up in importance. I really like that way of looking at it, and yeah, particularly having the first one. It does. It kind of feels like a tutorial almost, where it's like, here's
Press
just
Y
how
and
the
jump.
Yeah, exactly right. Here's how the mechanics of this work. It is also nice. I think it's very elegant that the author wraps that story up too at the end, where like you get to see when Kay goes into the future, that they're happily married and running the cafe now. That's like a nice little bow to tie on that story. I didn't have well, so yeah, two things. One, so I read this book for the first time a few years ago, and I was kind of surprised coming back to it. The story that had stuck the most with me was the Alzheimer's one. That was like, I had remembered that as being like more of the primary story, which it's really not. It's only the second one that they go into. But I didn't have the same reaction to the story about the child. I think partly just because I felt like the author did a really good job of rendering how much it meant to the mother. Like she really wanted to have this kid and was like really grappling internally, and you could see it with wanting to have this kid but being really afraid of not being able to do anything more than have the kid. And yeah, I was struck by like how beautiful it is to see her realize that like she thinks that she's failing the kid by only giving birth to her, but that like that means so much to the kid, and so like it's still this incredibly important and meaningful gift to give somebody else life, even if that's the only thing that you can do for them.
Yes. I agree with that. I think that I've heard similar arguments for people that have children that have disabilities, like severe disabilities. Like, let's say that you, or that have children through illegitimate means, like an incestual child, let's say, where even if the child doesn't turn out to have an issue, a lot of people say you never should have had that child. Like it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. And the child is like, I mean, I'm happy I'm alive. Mm-hmm. And then similarly, if you have a kid and you find out in pregnancy that they're going to be severely disabled, and they come out, often they're like, I mean, I'm still happy that I'm alive rather than not. So it was the right choice to have me. But under that logic, everyone should be having all the children all the time, which doesn't track, right?
Well, what I think is different about this example in the book is that it the mother so deeply wants it too, right? It's not like she's doing this for the kid despite it like not actually being what she wants. She, whether this is the right decision or the decision that somebody else would make or not, she like is more than willing to give up her life to have this kid. She's just worried that the kid will forever resent her for, you know, abandoning her, right?
Yes, and I do think that was done very well, and it was very beautiful in the moments in it, like where the kid comes back in time to see her later,
Yeah.
or earlier, but also later.
Yeah.
Like that was a really good touch. That was a good way to like set it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
and like the whole thing where like they get the time wrong or
Yeah.
whatever, and so they have to come back later. That's really like it's very beautiful. It's very pretty. It's done well. Given that what happened, it was beautiful. I just got a little hung up on this is the most unnecessary tragedy.
Yeah.
All the other tragedies are like real tragedies.
Right.
This one is not. You manufactured this one.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and one of the threads that I see as kind of connecting all of the experiences, all of the four experiences, is they all kind of have this experience, maybe with the exception of the first one, of realizing something just after it is kind of too late, right? And then there's like this real bittersweet tension of having realized something that's incredibly important, realizing that it's too late to do anything about that, but then also coming to terms with the fact that it's really beautiful and meaningful that you realized it in the end, right? Like,
Yeah, because you can't change the present. It's about how you changed going back.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So getting a new perspective on what it means for the wife to take care of the husband through his trajectory of Alzheimer's, and like realizing what it meant to the sister who died to have her sister like want to take care of the inn with her because it was them doing it together, and that's what was important. Realizing those things is like it's like so heartbreaking to see them be kind of too late, but like also incredibly deep and meaningful, and really changing the characters.
I would say that my like full view of the story, having read it now, is that I think I would have preferred there to be a little bit more of a plot. And I do wish some things had got like the one thing that I thought was strange and never dealt with is never dealt with who the ghost is. And I thought at some point we're going to get the ghost story. Or somebody else is going to become the ghost. Because they say that in the very beginning. And it felt a little bit like Chekhov's gun being on the wall and then never going off.
Yeah.
Because I had wondered if maybe that's how it was going to end, was that Kai... Is it Kai? Is Kai the one that...
The mother.
Baby?
Yeah.
That the mother was going to become the ghost because she stayed too long to see her daughter. I think that would have been a little more... That would have made it like come full circle a bit more. And so when it ended, I was a little surprised. I was like, oh... And it cut to credits. So I was like, oh, I thought we were going to have a little bit more here. It also wasn't the most like voracious book I've ever read. Like I didn't just tear through it or anything. I enjoyed reading it every time I did read it, but I wasn't like looking forward to read it the next day. Just because, again, none of it felt like I had to find out what happens next. I don't think that's a bad thing, because I think that kind of story is still good. And I do think it was one of the best, probably the second best magical realism books that I've read, and I haven't read that many of them. The only one that I can think of that I think hit a little harder was Song of Solomon. Altogether, super recommend this book. I think it's great, and especially there's also this whole genre of like cozy fantasy, and this isn't quite cozy fantasy, but cozy magic realism. I think is cozy but impactful magic realism.
Yeah, whatever it is incredibly cozy. It's
Yes,
I feel like
I
it
want
is.
to go to that cafe with
I
those
know.
3 tables.
Yeah, and the sepia hue that just steals all
Yeah.
sense of time. That just
And the
sounds so
clocks that
wonderful.
are
I know. Yeah. Yeah, it does, I mean, I think one of the things that I really love about this book is it feels like if you took an impressionist painting and made it a book. It's like such a vibe and this like incredible like sensory experience. And yeah, it doesn't, it doesn't really like, it's not focused on the plot, it's focused on the vibes of it, I think. Which yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting that nobody, like, with the title of the book, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, nobody fails that. Right? Like, that's I hadn't really thought about that until you mentioned it, but it's yeah, it's that is a funny thing. I wonder if some of that is like a little bit of the difference between what an American audience might expect from a book like this and what a Japanese audience might expect from this kind of story.
it. It did feel very. I mean, I guess I don't know how Japanese feels, but it felt very non-American. So I assumed that it felt very Japanese because there's like the way that people talked and
Yeah, yeah. I haven't read super broadly in the space of Japanese literature. I've read a bunch of Haruki Murakami, and a lot of that shares this kind of like kind of meditative magical realism vibes over like plot direction. So in my mind, at least, that's a little bit of the vibe generally. But yeah, I'm very glad that you liked it because I really love this book, and I think you're the first person that I've recommended it to who has read it, and I'm glad that you liked it.
yeah, super glad. It's definitely not something I'd read normally, and honestly, those are kind of the best book recs. The books that are not something you would read normally, but that you do end up enjoying.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a present, something that you wouldn't buy for yourself,
Yeah.
but that you enjoy receiving.
Anything else to say about Before the Coffee Gets Cold?
No, more people should read it because it's a wonderful book.